My name is Jared Weaver. I'm the Green City Park's Arborist, and today we're going to plant this deciduous magnolia tree. It's a deciduous saucer magnolia. The cultivar name is Elizabeth. It's got nice yellow flowers on it, and it'll look beautiful here in Keriakas Park. The first thing we're going to do is make sure we have an appropriate planting hole for this tree. You can see the size of this pot is much smaller than the size of this hole. We want to dig the hole a lot larger than that pot to let the roots plenty of room to grow out into the loose soil. So we've got this hole dug. I dug it earlier to make things a little easier. And we're going to fill this into its at the appropriate depth, the appropriate planting depth for this tree. Now I'll measure that by putting a shovel in the bottom of the hole and measuring from the soil line. This is where the grass was growing, and I'll measure that straight over to here, and I'll transfer that over to the pot. And that's about the same depth that that tree is growing in the pot. That's the depth that we want to plant that tree in the hole. So now that we've got that determined, we'll go ahead and take this tree out of the pot. And along this root ball here, we've got some roots that we're going to just kind of break them up a little bit to keep them from circling and girdling that tree. Then we'll just roll this over into the planting hole.
How far you know how to bury it?
We want to make this tree planted at the same depth. If we move some of this soil right out of the way here, we can see where the grass was. This is the depth of the grass, the surrounding grade. We want to plant that tree at the same depth in that container as what it's growing right here. And sometimes trees will be planted, especially balled and burlapped, they'll be a little bit too deep in the root ball. You want to look for this root flare right here, where that trunk starts to flare back out into the roots. That's the depth that we want to plant at the soil level. We want to try to recreate the natural environment for this tree as best we can. If this tree was grown from a seed, this is the natural depth that would be growing in the forest. That's the way trees are. That's the way they grow best. They've evolved to grow exactly with the roots in the soil and the trunk above the ground. So we want to try to recreate that. If you plant them too high, they can blow over easy. If you plant them too deep, if you plant them too deep though, the problem is you get soil piled up on the trunk and it can rot the bark away on the trunk. So that's one of our biggest problems that we run into with planting and planting depth.
Last it didn't make it, but I watched you do it and it did.
Oh, there we go. It
That's
works.
why I was asking.
Yeah, that's we have container grown trees are a lot of times they're at the right depth, but we have to break up the circling roots. With balled and burlap trees, a lot of the times they're too deep, so we have to adjust the height, but they don't have the girdling root problem as much. And now that we've got that in there, we'll go ahead and fill that back in with this native soil. We don't want to add a lot of topsoil or other things. We want to give the tree a little bit of tough love and force that to grow out into the native soil. If we give it too much topsoil, it won't grow out into the native soil. It'll just stay growing in that small area there. Now that we have the soil back around the tree, we want to check right here at the root flare to make sure we don't have any excess soil piled on top of the root ball. And we're in good shape, we don't have any extra. So we'll just tamp this soil down a little bit around the tree. And now it's time for mulch. We want to put the mulch about 1 to 4 inches deep. We don't want it to be too deep or that'll impede water from getting to the root zone of the tree. We also want to keep the mulch off the trunk of the tree. We don't want it to pile up right here at the base of the tree because that'll be the same problem as too much soil. If it piles up on the trunk, it can rot the bark away. Next, we'll water in the tree and let it grow.